Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my Line of God's Daily Diary series. As usual, before I discuss what I have achieved since yesterday's Daily Diary video, I want to read you a chapter from the Bible. Today I will be continuing with the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 25. Now when Festus was come into the province, after 3 days he ascended from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Then the high priest and the chief of the Jews informed him against Paul and besought him, and desired favor against him, that he would send him for him to Jerusalem, laying wait in the way to kill him. But Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, and that he himself would depart shortly thither. Let them therefore, said he, which among you are able, go down with me, and accuse this man, if there be any wickedness in him. And when he had tarried among them more than 10 days, he went down unto Caesarea, and the next day sitting on the judgment seat commanded Paul to be brought. And when he was come, the Jews which came down from Jerusalem stood round about, and laid many and grievous complaints against Paul, which they could not prove. While he answered for himself, Neither against the law of the Jews, neither against the temple, nor yet against Caesar have I offended anything at all. But Festus, willing to do the Jews a pleasure, answered Paul, and said, Wilt thou go up to Jerusalem, and there be judged of these things before me? Then said Paul, I stand at Caesar's judgment seat, where I ought to be judged. To the Jews have I done no wrong, as thou very well knowest. For if I be an offender, or have committed anything worthy of death, I refuse not to die. But if there be none of these things whereof these accuse me, no man may deliver unto them. I appeal unto Caesar. Then Festus, which had conferred with the council, answered, Hast thou appealed unto Caesar? Unto Caesar shalt thou go. And after certain days King Agrippa and Bernice came unto Caesarea to salute Festus. And when they had been there many days, Festus declared Paul's cause unto the king, saying, There is a certain man left in bonds by Felix, about whom when I was at Jerusalem the chief priests and the elders of the Jews informed me, desiring to have judgment against him. To whom I answered, It is not the manner of the Romans to deliver any man to die, before that he which is accused have the accusers face to face, and have license to answer for himself concerning the crime laid against him. Therefore, when they were come hither without any delay on the morrow, I sat on the judgment seat, and commanded the man to be brought forth. Against whom, when the accusers stood up, they brought none accusation of such things as I had supposed, but had certain questions against him of their own superstition, and of one Jesus, which was dead, whom Paul affirmed to be alive. And because I doubted of such manner of questions, I asked him whether he would go to Jerusalem, and there be judged of these matters. But when Paul had appealed to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. Then Agrippa said unto Festus, I would also hear the man myself. Tomorrow, said he, thou shalt hear him. And on the morrow, when Agrippa was come, and Bernice with great pomp, and was entered into the palace of hearing, with the chief captains and principal men of the city at Festus' commandment, Paul was brought forth. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all men which are here present with us, ye see this man, about whom all the multitude of the Jews have dealt with me, both at Jerusalem and also here, crying that he ought not to live any longer. But when I found that he had committed nothing worthy of death, and that he himself hath appealed to Augustus, I have determined to send him, of whom I have no certain thing to write unto my Lord. Wherefore I have brought him forth before you, and specifically before thee, O King Agrippa, that after examination might have somewhat to write. For it seemeth to me unreasonable to send a prisoner, and not withal to signify the crimes laid against him. Praise be to you, Lord Jesus Christ. I don't want to offer any analysis of this chapter. It's actually pretty straightforward. The idea of who is going to judge Paul, and ultimately Agrippa is going to hear him speak and plead his case at the end of the chapter. So, because Paul is basically saying that he'll wait for Caesar's judgment. So it's a good chapter. With that, now I will go ahead and I want to go ahead and talk about just some so like what I've been doing in terms of, other than iterating the way I've been iterating, which is obviously awesome. I talked about that recently in another video, which was the idea that, like, how have I been iterating? I've been iterating well. And so I'm just, like, super grateful for that. firstly. So the next thing is, I recently I picked up a few games. So if you know me, you know that I've always loved basketball. Um, of course, I train MMA now these days, but I still enjoy watching basketball. I'm a huge LeBron James fan. He was my idol growing up. Um, I watched him basically ever since I came awake. I've been a LeBron James fan, so all the way since 2005, and yeah, so it's been a long time now, So, and he's still playing, and it's his 22nd season coming up. So, I'm excited to watch more basketball. That's something I've been always watching basketball. Um, yeah, and then also in terms of like the hobbies that I have, I like some of the hobbies include. The reason I mention is because I picked up NBA 2K25, and I created my build. I have a 7, so he's the tallest and longest wingspan, 7'3" with an 8-foot wingspan, and so like the idea is that's what it is, and his weight is 264 pounds, so he's like 16 pounds away from the max weight, and so he's pretty big. I think he is 264. Either 246 or 264. I think he's 264. Yeah, so and he's like max like defensive build, but he's only a 70 out of 99 overall at this point because I'm not going to buy any of the currency required to max his stats. But I still have a ton of fun. Like I'm a very like team player. Like I always make the right play. Like I set screens, I get offensive rebounds, and I pass it back out. If I'm actually open, I'll score the basketball. So I make a lot of like I'm very like a good team player. So I have a ton of fun playing 2K. So that's something I've been doing around this time. And in addition to that, I also picked up a game called Helldivers 2. So Helldivers is just an awesome game. It's just kind of like a you versus aliens game. So what I knew I wanted was a shooter that wasn't very PvP oriented because I'm not trying to get good at video games. I'm just trying to relax. And Helldivers 2 has been a ton of fun for that. I've probably played about 10 hours at this point, and I love it. So I'm excited to continue playing Helldivers here and there. So one more idea that I want to talk about. So I have some... if you guys have watched my video game series, you know that I loved playing video games growing up, and I have a lot less time to play. I probably only get like a few hours a week now to play, whereas when I was a kid, I would play like all the time. And obviously that's part of life, especially coming awake to Jesus. Now things are going to have to change, right? And they have. I barely get any time anymore to play video games, and so with that, I've been playing these two games like I mentioned. And so the creators of the Mass Effect series that you see on my channel, I have my Mass Effect trilogy playlist. Mass Effect was one of my favorite games growing up. Mass Effect, God of War, World of Warcraft, Witcher, Baldur's Gate, Divinity Original Sin, Ratchet and Clank, Kingdom Hearts, Grand Theft Auto. These are some of my favorite games, right? And so BioWare is actually coming out with another game series that I've actually not played an installation of that game series. So back in 2015, I picked up an Xbox One, and I asked the people at the GameStop, should I get Witcher or Dragon Age? I think it was Origins, I'm not sure, or Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm not sure. But they said, I remember the lady there, she said, if you play one of these games, if you play Witcher first, you won't want to go back and play Dragon Age, because Witcher is better than Dragon Age. But if you play Dragon Age first, you'll do that, you'll have fun, then you'll play Witcher. I just picked Witcher because I heard the reviews were so good, and to this day, Witcher is one of my favorite games ever. So I picked Witcher, and I never played Dragon Age. But BioWare, the developer of the Mass Effect series, they're coming out with another installation of Dragon Age, this time called Dragon Age Veilguard. That releases on 10/31/24. And if the reviews are good, I'm hoping like if it's like a 8.5 or 9 or better on the IGN review, I'll probably pick that up and play that game. Because I love, if you guys know me, I love the narrative, story-driven games. I love games like, basically the one thing that I love about those games is firstly they end, so I'm not going to play any more like perpetual games like World of Warcraft, which is nothing against it, because World of Warcraft is my favorite game ever. It's that as an adult, I can't afford to play a game where if you're not playing, you're kind of falling behind. So other games that come to mind, RuneScape, Clash of Clans, like if you're not playing those games all the time, you're like technically like a little bit behind someone who is. So it's just that perpetual nature. I don't want to play those games anymore, although I loved those games that I just mentioned. Like I mentioned, World of Warcraft is my favorite game ever. So I'm excited to play like those narrative story-driven games because they end. They give you a story. They give you some agency. Like Mass Effect, BioWare games, you get to choose like good and bad, right? Like that's so much fun, because it also allows for replayability. Baldur's Gate's another great game for the agency, you know. So I'm very excited to play that, and hopefully if the reviews are good. So if that comes out, I might make another playlist on my channel for Dragon Age Veilguard. So that's where I've been at for the very few hours a week I get now, considering all the other works I'm doing. And I just want to say, all that glory is to God. My glory is to God Father and God Son. They protect me and mine. So with that, I want to go ahead and transition now over to what I have achieved since yesterday's Daily Dive video. Since yesterday's Daily Dive video, I worked my software engineering job. I worked at my core, chest, legs, and back, and I have uploaded and scheduled the week's worth of daily diary and workout videos. And with no further achievements since yesterday's Daily Dive video, I want to go ahead and say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.